This is Roy Johnson, and you're listening to my Stuttering Live podcast hosted by the one and only Pedro Pena. So let's get started.
What's up, guys? This is Pedro from My Stuttering Life, where you will hear the good, the bad, the very ugly. We're going to laugh, we're going to cry, but through it all, just know that you are not alone. So, let's get started.
But wait, it's time for listener feedback.
What's up, Pedro? My name's Juan Pablo, and I'm a stuttering since I don't remember the day I didn't stutter. So hey, I just want to say that listening to your podcast and following you on social media, it has made a great impact on my life. I often thought I could not relate to anyone until I started listening to you, and I just wanna encourage you to keep making great content.
This is episode number 45, and my special guest is Aaron Toubian. Mr. Toubian is a stuttering coach from Los Angeles, California, and has been in that role for 7 months now. This stems from his own personal experience living with a stutter and has learned to control and manage his stutter. Mr. Toubian wants to give back by helping other people who stutter. I am honored to have him as a guest with me on the My Stuttering Life podcast. Welcome, Aaron Toubian.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I'm so excited to get started.
Thank you, sir. We have many topics to go over, so here we go. Do you remember when you first began to stutter?
Yes, I do. I remember I was sitting in preschool, and I remember I was asked to read out loud, and I couldn't. I kept on stuttering like crazy, and I thought to myself, like, is everything okay with me? Like what's going on? And it wasn't a good feeling, and like I felt it was just really weird. It wasn't a good feeling, and I felt so like yeah, it was very weird. It was like, and it happened at the age of 4. So yeah.
How did you handle school with having a stutter?
So whenever I was in school, I didn't handle studying very well. I was very shy and reserved. I wouldn't talk in class a lot. Even if I knew an answer that like a teacher would ask, I would never raise my hand because I was always afraid I was going to stutter. And this happened all the way through college, actually. So I didn't accept my stutter until 5 years ago.
Oh, wow. When I turned 40,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I finally embraced it. I
Wow.
took it in. Yes, I mean, a long time. I wish I did it much earlier, like in my
Right.
20s, possibly high school, but
Mm-hmm.
we are all on different journeys.
Right.
And so for me, it began at 40, and that's when, I just told myself, I'm pretty much done. I'm done
Yeah.
stuttering. I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I know that. No, I remember that was me about 5 years ago. I was sitting having lunch with my sister one day, and we're having just a nice, deep conversation. She asked me, Aaron, well, like, you have all the tools and you know what you have to do. And she asked me this one question. She asked me, how badly do you want it? And after that question, it just changed my mentality. I stopped being lazy using my methods. I took ownership of my stuttering. I accepted it. I embraced it. And, I couldn't be happier.
That is a wonderful sister. You should buy her a new car. You should buy her a new house. That was great advice. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And my sister's a therapist. So, yeah, she knows how to ask questions.
Now, during school,
Right.
did you ever have speech therapy? And if you did, was it helpful?
So I did have speech therapy in school, and it was mainly in elementary school, but it wasn't that great because the speech therapist at the school, she didn't teach me a method that helped me at all. She'd always tell me to breathe. I'm like, okay, but this isn't working. So, so long story short, my family and I went to Israel. We saw a speech therapist there, who gave us a number to another speech therapist in New York. And the speech therapist from New York, she gave us the number to the speech therapist who I saw in Los Angeles, who was amazing. And her name was Vivian Sheehan. She was the best of the best, and like she was the one who taught me voluntary stuttering. I'm sure you've heard of it before. And she was in her 80s when she was teaching me. She was so sharp, so wise. She just really understood me, and it was powerful. So yeah, so for speech therapy in school, it never helped me, and I was lucky to find Vivian Sheehan from the help of my family.
Previously, during your school years, how many years of speech therapy had you had before you met with Vivian?
I had about 4 years, I think, or 5 years. Yeah, it started at Hawthorne Elementary School in Beverly Hills, and yeah, I had it for about 4 or 5 years, and it just wasn't really helping me, and like it was very frustrating in a way because I remember like in the third grade or fourth grade, if my teachers would ask to call on me to read out loud, it would take me like 20, 30 minutes just to read like a whole paragraph.
That I remember very vividly when it was my time to read.
Right.
I would raise my hand and go to the restroom, and that happened every single time.
Wow. Oh my God. Yeah, like with me, like I would never do that, but I would either just not raise my hand or I would try to talk, but the word just wouldn't come out.
Does it run in your family? Do you have other family members who stutter?
So it's interesting how you ask that because so my mom, she used to have a stutter.
Mine too. My
Really?
mom,
Wow.
mhm. Yes, my mom, she stuttered, and when she was m- a little older, I believe she told me like after high school, she just told herself, "I'm done,"
Right.
and uh, and she stopped.
Wow.
And so I am just in awe of her mental power, her
Right,
wonder,
right, right.
her her Wonder Woman powers to tell herself, "I'm done," "I'm stopping," and but for a lot of people, that just doesn't happen, and so we go see speech professionals to help manage our fluencies.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't agree. Yeah, it's like it's all about just controlling and managing it, right? Because your stutter will never go away unless you work on yourself just every day. And you have to be extremely consistent with it.
Yes, that is the whole key. You have to be consistent. Talking
Yeah.
about your high school life experience, was high school hard for you as a stutterer?
Oh yeah, super difficult. I mean, like it wasn't hard as in making friends, but as in the classroom and still talking and stuff and doing presentations, yeah, it was hard. I was shy, because like I wasn't really myself in high school. I was shy, reserved. I didn't want to do presentations, but I still did. But it was so my stutter in high school was like a roller coaster, right? It was up and down. Some days would be great, some days would be absolutely horrible. I couldn't talk, and I just couldn't accept I stutter like in high school. Couldn't accept it. It was difficult.
Many people that I talk to who stutter, they tell me that in their high school days, they would join a group to help them either handle their stutter or break out of their stutter, or just as a coping mechanism. Did you do that as well?
No, I didn't. I didn't do that. I was mainly just on my own, like in high school. You know, I was just I was just in my own journey. You know, I was trying to figure it out myself. Yeah, it was difficult. You know, I had some days where it was frustrating, but you know what? I mean, like, I couldn't be happier to go through all the bad times, right? And that's what made me so much more confident today, and like powerful, and like and just releasing all of those limiting beliefs that I used to have.
Do you have any advice for parents and teachers with regards to children who stutter?
Oh, I totally do. If there's a teacher who you have in class, you should always tell them that, hey, like I have a son who stutters, or I do stutter, so they can let them know, and tell the teacher, you know, like if I do stutter, then like just be patient and don't finish the rest of my sentences, and keep really good eye contact. As far as parents goes, I feel like you should tell your kid, hey, like use your voluntary stuttering method, like keep good eye contact, and just keep telling them what to do, because like that because that's what my parents did, right? So every single day they'll tell me, hey, Aaron, like use your voluntary stuttering, use your voluntary stuttering method. Just read out loud every single day for about 20 minutes, and that pushed me because they actually cared for me.
How cool.
Right? Exactly.
Job wise, did you ever face discrimination because of your stutter?
So in some interviews I used to go on like many years ago, I felt like I did, but as of now I don't. I feel like that whenever I go on one, I tell them I stutter, you know, but I also tell them that listen, it's not as bad. It used to be. I managed it, I've controlled it. You know, it doesn't take me a long time to say a sentence. So yeah, it's all about just it's all about just telling a job this and like, so this is what I have, and if you accept it, great. If you don't, you don't. It's not the end of the world.
See, and that is great advice because job interviews are tough for everybody.
Oh,
But
easily.
if you stutter, it's like 100 times worse. And so I can't tell you how many times I bombed job interviews. I would have the person doing the job interview ask me, am I okay? Because I'm turning blue. I'm not
Right,
breathing.
right, right, right.
I am
Yeah, I
having a
remember those moments.
I mean, it's and what I have found that helps me is right off the bat at the job interview, I
Mhm.
disclose.
Right.
I
Oh, you
tell
have
them,
to.
right, I'm Pedro Pena and I have a speech impediment. I may have a hard time on some words, but don't worry. Give me 4 hours and and the word will come out.
That's too funny. That's too funny. Yeah, you know what's interesting? I feel like with job interviews, I was reading this online, and it was basically saying like, people who stutter. So the most people that they stutter with is whenever they go on a job interview, which is interesting, right? But now if I go on a job in the last 6 7 months, I feel like I feel like I'm very comfortable. I'm not really nervous, because the one thing I usually do now, if I go on a job interview, I'll practice my voluntary stuttering at home at night for about 20 30 minutes just every single day. And the one thing I'll do is like I'll go on Google, and the one thing I'll type on Google is job interview questions, right? So whenever I get to the job interview, I know what they're gonna ask me. So I won't feel nervous. I won't feel any type of pressure at all during that interview.
Many people who stutter have told me that to help cope with their stutter, they would self medicate, i.e., alcohol or possibly drugs. Have you ever done that?
I never have. I never have. But the one thing I would cope with was food. Because I used to be a emotional eater, right? And that's when I was super depressed. I mean, it was my stutter. I didn't know what my passion was in life. After I graduated, I was very depressed. This is after I graduated college. I was very depressed. I didn't know what my passion was. I kept on taking the easy way out. I thought I wanted to become a teacher. I didn't pass the CBAS twice. I thought I wanted to become a physical therapist. I hated science. And it was frustrating, and the stutter was okay. It wasn't as controllable and manageable as it is now. But yeah, I went through some dark times where I thought about committing suicide as well, but I never did, of course. And yeah, it was hard times, but at the same time, I embraced the journey.
I can completely relate because I went through a dark period when I was a teenager, and so I went down a dark path. But thankfully, I came out of it. Thankfully, but it is so important to let other people who stutter know that there are lots of organizations who are there to help. And so that's why I just encourage everybody, just if you need help, reach out.
Oh, for sure. You have to reach out and you have to just use your voice and not be scared to reach out, because there's so many support groups and online support groups. Like right now, actually I have my own online support group that I have, and like that's once a week, and it's either on Thursdays or Wednesdays, and it's a group of like 3 or 4 people. We have this support group for at least an hour, hour and a half, and I honestly love it because we get to share our wins and losses with our stuttering. We get to open up about the, just about our stutter as a whole, and I love doing it every single week. I couldn't be happier.
This is the most polled question for those who stutter.
Hmm.
And we are all different, but what was your most effective technique that you did to help you with your fluency?
So the most effective technique for me was called voluntary stuttering, which I'm sure you've heard. So voluntary stuttering is when you take the first letter of each word and prolong it just a little bit. So for example, if I said the word basketball, you see how I got the letter B in basketball and prolonged it just a little bit? That's what I usually do on the first word of the sentence and usually every other word. So it makes it easier for me to say my words. And that technique, I found that from Vivian Sheehan, who was the best of the best. And if it wasn't for her, then I would have gone better. So I gave all my thanks to that.
That technique I also use a lot.
Yeah, I can see it. I can
Yes.
see it, right? And you have to. And it's interesting because I've heard some other technique. I'm like, it, I feel like, I feel like with voluntary stuttering, it's just the best technique that we can use, right? Because it's the most comfortable technique, in my opinion.
Now, this one is a head scratcher for a lot of us, but
Hmm.
when you are alone,
Hmm.
can you speak without
Oh
stuttering?
yeah, for sure, 100%. I mean, because every single day I read out loud for about 20, 30 minutes still, right? It's because I still want to be consistent with my talking, right? And yeah, I never stutter if I'm alone or and the crazy thing is, even now, if I go to a supermarket to order a smoothie, or if I make an appointment online to service my car or for a dentist, I will rarely stutter. It's because I practice every single day with my voluntary stuttering. And you have to. You have to. Because the one thing I would do, especially whenever I was depressed, is I would go to bars late at night just by myself, and that was when the social isolation would kick in, right? And I would just g- go to bars alone and order food and order drinks and talk to girls, and that made my confidence even higher at the same time, and it made me feel so good inside. So you have to do things alone. You have to.
That is uh, very interesting because I am the opposite. When
Really.
I'm alone, I stutter. When I'm in the shower, I stutter.
Mhm.
When I'm at the post office, I stutter. And so, but what you just told me, I've been hearing from a lot of people who stutter
Really?
is when they practice reading out loud every day, it helps with the fluency. And so what I have done in the past is I would practice in front of the bathroom mirror for hours and hours. I would just practice my name and practice my home address and practice my phone number because there are a lot of S's and a lot of P's, and those letters are my nemesis.
Gotcha. Yeah, for me, I feel like for my name, it was hard to say back in the day, especially saying the name Aaron, right? Which I couldn't say. It was like the difficult thing to say, right? Or the word that, or I, or the T. The T's used to get me a lot. But you know what? I mean, the one thing I would do would be I would just practice those words every single day so I can just be fluent. And I didn't want to give up. And you can't give up as a stutter. You have to keep fighting every single damn day. It's because the only person who's stopping you, blocking you from reaching your own potential with your stuttering is yourself. And you can't have fear. You have to block out that fear.
That is 100%. You have to keep on going. If you get knocked down, you get back up. If you get knocked down again, guess what? You get back up. Because every single time that you get back up, you are building momentum. You are building your self confidence day after day after day. And so after a period of time, it will actually be a great benefit.
Exactly, right? And like I feel like as people who stutter, right? I feel like some of us would wear so many masks because we would hide our stutter back in the. I used to hide my stutter back in the day. I used to be ashamed of it, right? And there's still some people who hide the stutter, and the advice that I have for them is like, don't hide it, accept it, because it makes you unique, and there's nothing wrong with it, and and you can't hide it anymore. You have to accept it for what it is.
You are 100% correct because I tell other people who stutter, stop fighting it because you will lose every single time. If you are always thinking about it, if you are always focusing on it,
Right,
it will 100% consume you.
right,
And so I tell them just stop, forget about it, have a I don't care attitude
exactly,
about your. And let me tell you, it for me, because we're all different, but for me, when I turned 40 and told myself, I'm done. I don't care anymore. I don't care if you are making fun of my stuttering. That's on you. That is not on me. Your opinion of me doesn't have to be my reality.
exactly. If there's one thing I always say is that when someone makes fun of someone, it's their judgmental. It's like I feel like it's their issue that they're having with themselves. Because they have to do research on stuttering, right? If they don't know what stuttering is, like it's their issue, not ours.
Right. Now, have you ever had a situation where you were asked your name, like at a doctor's office or at another appointment, and you were having a long block, and they ask you, did you forget your name?
So for sure, that would happen so many times. I mean, it would happen on sometimes on dates or sometimes if I'd order a drink at Starbucks, like, oh, so what's your name? I'm like, oh, it's Aaron. But now I say it's Aaron. You gotta practice every single day. And my name was so tough to say. And to be honest with you, and now it's like I don't have that issue anymore, right? Because I love my name. I love my name, and I love myself.
There were many times when I was at Starbucks
Mhm.
And let me tell you, I love me a cafe latte macchiato. I love all that.
Right.
When I would go and I was unable to give my name, I would give an easier name
Mm-hmm.
like Jorge or, Harold or Harry or whatnot. Then I would go back to my table.
Mm-hmm.
When they would call out that other name that I gave, that my
Right.
my coffee
Right.
was was ready, uh, I would never pay attention because I was, multitasking, working on my phone, and therefore I would hear Harry or Jorge and wouldn't think about it until they would look at me, Harry. Oh yes, that's my name, Harry. And so
Oh my God,
I
that's
would,
hilarious. Oh my God. Because to me,
so I would go up.
it's funny. It's funny because with me, like I never did that once in my entire life. Honestly, I always just loved my name. I mean, it's Aaron. It's who I am, right? So I couldn't change my name. I mean, and I didn't want to change my name. So, and to be honest with you, I feel like with some people who stutter, right, they sometimes take the easy way out still, and you can't take the easy way out. You just can't. It's like it's it's like you always should disclose that you stutter, and you should never be ashamed of it. And don't take the easy way out because it's not good for your confidence. It's not good for your self-esteem and your well-being.
That is so correct on so many levels.
So many
You were just
levels.
hitting. Yes, yes. Now, how did you handle dating? Because dating for those quote unquote normal people,
Right.
is difficult.
Right.
But if you are a stutterer, like dating is like 100 times more difficult. How did you handle dating?
Oh man, I love this question honestly. So it's very interesting because in the past, maybe like 8, 9 years ago, whenever I first started like online dating, because I wasn't comfortable with meeting girls in person, right? I would tell girls, "Hey, I stutter, but it's gone a little bit better." Some girls would say, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's fine," and some girls would say, "Oh, since you stutter, I won't date you." I was thinking to myself, "Okay, it's your loss, my gain. I don't care." And and sometimes on dates I would stutter. This is like way back in the day, maybe like 8, 9 years ago, and yeah, I would get nervous meeting girls. But you know what I mean. But it's funny if I can share a story with you. I was on a date, and so we met for drinks. She was excited, I was excited, and on the date, she was on her phone. And keep in mind, like, I've managed my stutter, I've controlled it, I've learned to embrace it, and I thought to myself, Aaron, you need to get out of this date, and you have to use your voice, and don't be afraid to just stand up for yourself, right? So I said to myself, Aaron, just do it. So I said to her, hey, listen, sorry, I have to leave. And she's like, why? I said to her, because it seems like you're on a date with your phone, so rather than me. And whenever I said that, she flipped out and she's like, "No, it's not. I want you to stay. I came here for you." I'm like, "It's obvious that you totally did it." And I left, and just standing up for myself felt so damn good because it brought my self confidence up, right? Because the one thing on stutters is that sometimes there's so many people who walk all over us, right? And that used to happen to me in the past so much. So I asked myself on the day, I asked myself, how many people have walked all over you just because you're a stutter? And I said to myself that night, enough is enough. It's not going to happen anymore. And it felt so good to do that because it got my self confidence up. I took off so many layers that was hiding in me, and I felt like I was myself again. So as of right now, I don't do online dating anymore. I'd rather date someone who I know because I feel like being friends with someone first is always the first step of being in a great relationship. So I don't do online dating anymore. I feel like it's so stupid now.
Good point. Find a friend and then just go from there.
Exactly.
Now, what has stuttering taught you?
Oh, it's taught me so many things. It's taught me to be brave. It's taught me to be resilient. It's taught me to always be a fighter. It's taught me to accept and love yourself. It's taught me to not create stories in your head that you think you have, right? Like in the past, I used to think I was retarded because of my stutter, because it would take me so long to speak, and I wasn't using my voice, and I was afraid to be heard. And I said to myself, Aaron, like, just accept it, just embrace it. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's not like you have cancer or diabetes or something. Like, it's not like you have something like that. But you got to embrace it every single day. And there's nothing wrong with having a stutter, you know. And it's because even if I do stutter once in a while, which happens, I mean, it's normal, and that's okay. I mean, but whenever I do have that stutter, right, I know how to use my method and get out of it, right? So I won't have that block for like 5 minutes. I might have that block for like a second or 2 seconds, and then just use the voluntary stuttering method, and it will be great.
You and I have those common traits because stuttering has also taught me courage. It has taught me resilience to bounce back up and to keep on moving. And
Hmm.
stuttering has taught me on how to be empathetic, because now I can put myself into another person's shoes and feel what they feel. And that has actually helped me tremendously in my life.
Right, exactly. If there's one piece of advice I give to people who stutter as well, especially if they're in the middle of a sentence, if they're having trouble with the word, the only thing I'd recommend is like, don't go back to the beginning of the sentence and start over, right? Because you always want to take that word that you're having trouble on and just keep on fighting with that word. Keep going and don't go back to the beginning of the sentence. Because that would mean to me is like you're giving up, and you always want to challenge yourself to stick on that word that you've been trouble with and just use your method to keep going.
That's a great tip, which leads us into what advice would you have given your younger self?
Wow, there's so many things I give my younger self. I would tell myself, just slow down. There's so many people who don't know about stuttering, to just be patient with it, and not fight it so much. And to just be yourself and be calm, and don't feel you're under so much pressure because you're not, and it's okay to stutter. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's nothing that you should be ashamed of. Embrace it, enjoy it, love it, and be yourself. And that's the journey. You have to be yourself and just be free, because the only person who's stopping you, blocking you from reaching your highest potential with your stutter is yourself, And the one thing I would say to myself is also to not have fear. Just keep going, keep fighting every single day. And if you need help, ask for help. It's like me, it's like, so the last 7 months, I've actually become a stuttering coach, tell people who stutter, and like, I love what I do.
Wow. Could you talk about that more? A stuttering coach? Be
Yeah, I would love
be
to.
because I find that extremely interesting.
Yeah, so it was interesting because whenever I was going through my ups and downs in college and like not knowing what I wanted to do and like so being fully depressed and all that other stuff. Remember like a year ago, my sister asked me, okay, Aaron, you've managed your stuttering, you've controlled your stuttering. Have you ever thought about becoming a stuttering coach to help people who stutter? I said, no, I haven't. And I'm like, that would be amazing. And so what I do is like the method that Vivian Sheehan taught me, the voluntary stuttering method, along with me just being a stutterer and just managing my stutter. I thought to myself, why not help other people who stutter? Because I've gone through all the pain, all the shame, all the resentment, all the fear of trying to ask a girl out, of having trouble on a job interview, or just talking on the phone, just anything, right? So all those experiences that I've had, so that's where I come in. I help people who have trouble saying their own name, making their confidence higher, but also teaching them a method that helps me as well. And just being that coach of giving them confidence and just telling them, listen, I've been there. I know what you're going through. And it's not just about the stammer. It's basically just because you're being robbed of your voice and you're not loving your voice of how you used to love it. So I use all the tools that Vivian taught me and all the experience I've gone through stuttering and helping them using their voice and being heard. And I love what I do. I love what I do.
That is so awesome. You have no idea. Oh my gosh, I wish I had that when I was growing up because I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only person on earth that had a stutter. That was my thought process all through grade school.
Right.
Until I met another person who stuttered in my 20s.
Right.
That was truly a monumental event because when he was going to shake my hand and I shook his hand, I could see on his face, oh my gosh. I mean, I was looking at myself through him. He was having a block and he was turning red. And mind you, we were still shaking hands and his grip got a little stronger. And we were holding that grip for a while until I said, I know. And
Wow.
let me tell you, that was so powerful because all of the redness that was on his face, I mean, you could visually see his shoulders going back down. And by just telling him, I know, that was the most moving part of my life because I thought that I was just all by myself. And later on, he finally said his name. I finally said my name.
Right.
Then we became good friends.
Wow.
But just by just visually looking at the pain on his face and feeling the anguish, feeling his heart beat racing because I was doing the exact same thing. That moment
Wow.
in my life, I will never, ever forget.
Well, it's actually interesting because I want to share something with you. It was a question about you said about the teachers and stuff. There's one thing I forgot to add, if I may add that, if that's okay with you.
Oh, go ahead.
I remember it was in college. I was in Santa Monica College about 9 years ago, and I was taking a speech class, right? And I emailed the professor saying, "Hey, it was going to be a informative speech on stuttering, right? To inform people about stuttering." And I sent her an email. She emailed me back saying, "So she sent me back saying, hey, listen, if you want to get your speech approved, then you have to go to the disabilities office to get it approved." I thought to myself, wait, did you just call me disabled because I stutter? I was like, there's no way. And then I showed the email to my dad and my sister, and they contacted the dean of the school. And the dean of the school said to me, hey, I'm sorry you went through that. And she just apologizes. It's interesting because I wish that more people would know about stuttering, especially teachers and people at coffee shops or whatever or whatnot. But I feel like a lot of people still don't know about stuttering, and that has to change. That has to change. And it's funny because some people think that when someone has a stutter, it's a disability. But what the one thing with me, it's like I don't view stuttering as a disability. I view it as an obstacle, and you can definitely 100% overcome that obstacle as long as you work on yourself every single damn day.
Wow, that's powerful.
Thank you.
How do you feel about telephones?
Oh, I love it. I
Tell
love
me
it.
more.
Oh, I love it. Like, what was like a month ago when I got my car serviced, and like I called the dealership. I was like, I told them, hey, my name is Aaron Toubian and want to see if I can come service my car, please. I wasn't even stuttering at all, but you know what? I mean, I love talking on the phone. I mean, like with my friends, with my family, with like, or if I'm making an appointment, it's like I love it because I've practiced so much on myself. So now whenever I talk on the phone, I don't stutter. I don't get nervous. My palms are not sweaty. My heart isn't racing, and I really embrace it. I love it because I've worked on myself so much to get to where I'm at right now in my life with my stutter. And I love it. I love it. I'm not afraid as I used to be. I'm not ashamed of my stutter as I used to be. I accept it, and it's part of me. And if I do stutter once in a blue moon, which happens once in a blue moon, yeah, it's okay. But you know what? I love what I do as far as work and just helping to serve people who stutter. Just on Thursday night, I had a client who was from New York, and he said to me, give me the biggest compliment. He said to me, "Hey, Aaron, I'm so glad that you mentioned me on Instagram and that we're working with each other. Like, because for someone who's lived with stuttering, it's sort of a gift, right? Because they know what their other person is going through. So he said to me, Aaron, I'm so lucky you found me. Like, and you're truly a gift to me. So many other people should work with you, and like all this other stuff, and like, and that just made my night. And I couldn't be happier working with him.
What a great compliment. I mean, to
Right?
hear that is like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, what is your opinion on this new technology? For example, you can download an app for
Hmm.
any restaurant.
Hmm.
You can place an order, pay for it, have it delivered without even talking. Do you think this new technology is hurtful, harmful? What are your thoughts?
I absolutely hate it. To be honest with you, I'd rather go to a restaurant to order my food for myself because like it's all about embracing your stutter and going in social awkward situations and just owning it, right? Like, yeah, have I used Postmates once in a while? If I'm super hungry, yeah, I have, and not going to a restaurant to order food, yeah, because like I'm at home, I don't feel like driving, but like you have to go to a restaurant or just order your own food, like who cares if you stutter or you don't stutter? I mean, like you got to practice on yourself every single day so you won't feel nervous when you order your own food, right? And whenever I was going through that major depression, and the one thing that came out of it was I'll go to restaurants alone in bars and just order my own food and talking to new people and being comfortable in that social setting so I wouldn't stutter just later on in my life. With the app ideas, I hate it, because I feel like you still have that mask on, right? And you don't want to take that mask off that you still have, and you have to embrace it and not be afraid to talk to 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 talk to new people or to meet someone new and be afraid that you're gonna stutter because you can't have fear in life. Because if you have fear, it's gonna hold you back of everything.
That's a good point. With all this Google Home and this Alexa, and then the one with Apple that has an S that
Right.
that I can never say. Those I don't use.
Right.
However, I have ordering online,
Hmm.
and then when they come in, I just have a big old smile and a big tip because I appreciate them.
Right. Of course. I mean, it's their job, right?
Right, but on the other side of the token, I can see the value in what you were talking about in just going out there and stepping out of your comfort zone and just doing it.
Exactly. You have to, and your comfort zone is a place where you don't want to be in life. I used to be in my comfort zone so much. So whether that's it could be anything. I mean, from not going to a restaurant or going to a place and instead of calling in or anything. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Like, I mean, because your comfort zone is always going to kill you. It's always going to play small in your life. Always, always. You can't do that. I mean, it's not healthy for a person who stutters. You have to come out of the comfort zone and be confident and be talkative and be you. Like, I remember about 9, 10 years ago, I took a seminar. It was a self discovery seminar, and it was like a 4 or 5 day seminar where I opened up so much about my life and about my stutter and met new people, and it was one of the best things I've ever done, and it was super powerful, super loving, and like I felt like I found my voice back in the day, 10 years ago, but I still didn't accept my stutter until 5 years ago. So it was when my sister asked me that question at lunch. And you have to put yourself outside the comfort zone and meet new people. Like, and so whether it's playing basketball with new people or whether it's going to a new event, just anything, and just embrace it, and don't ever hide your stutter.
Now, where can people find you? Because I have the best listeners. I have an awesome audience. I appreciate all of my podcast l- l- listeners. Where can they find you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Aaron Toubian, and it's my first name. It's spelled Aaron, and then after it's underscore, and my last name is spelled Toubian, and they can find me on Facebook as well. It's my name, Aaron Toubian, and yeah, they can reach out to me, message me, and yeah, I'd be happy to help them and help serve them.
Do you also have a website?
Yeah, I do. My website is called thestutteringcoach.com.
Perfect. We will have all those links in the show notes. And so I would like to thank you, Mr. Toubian, for spending time with me on the My Stuttering Life podcast, because I believe that there's healing in sharing. We all
Yes,
have a story to tell. And by the guests that are on my podcast, they are helping all of my listeners know that they are not alone, that there are other people out there who stutter, and we all have different techniques to help with our fluency, and that we are living awesome lives. Don't let your stutter stop you from doing anything in this world. Know that you are #awesome, #you rock, because we have to live our best life.
exactly. And the one thing I always say is like, don't let your stutter take control of you. You have to take control of your stutter. And at the end of the day, we all have a voice and we all deserve to be heard.
Thank you, Mr. Toubian, for spending time with me. I had an awesome time in this.
Me too.
Now,
Me too.
this will not be the last time that we talk, because I have many, many more topics to cover, because I've never heard of a stuttering coach before. So I will have you back on again, because I will have a lot more questions to ask you.
Sounds great. I can't wait. I can't wait. Awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Toubian. You be well.
You're welcome. Same to you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
If you like this podcast, head on over to Apple iTunes. Subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you for listening, and we will talk again.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.